what is the big deal happening on October 22nd? And this is something that about every other country is involved in, but America. Is it something we should be worried about? It's going to happen in Russia. We'll discuss that today. Not only that, have you really looked at how bad some of the infrastructure and some of the things are in America? While we send billions across the seas, I want to go through a list of things that shows that if we don't reverse course, it's going to be bad for Americans. And you're going to see this empire crumble even more. And then two more stories. Did you know that France was preparing for a major war? World War III is actually what they said. Now why? And what are they doing, and should we be worried about it? And then lastly, let's talk about Americans. And what I mean by this is the way we have been taught to eat, to live, to rely. Those things are actually coming back to haunt us now, because we're going to go over some startling facts that shows how really unhealthy America is. And it's all because we kind of did it to ourselves. Let's talk about these things today. Hey guys, welcome to the Max. Thank you so very much for being here today. If you are new to the channel, go down here, press subscribe, ring the bell, give us a thumbs up. I promise you, when I say it means the world to me, it means the world to me when you give us a thumbs up and you comment and you subscribe, because that helps tell YouTube that, you know what, these people are trying to share a good message, and that definitely helps us. So thank you so very much if you are doing that. Now let's talk about some of these stories, how crazy this is. Now first let's talk about France, and then we're going to move into what the 22nd actually means and why it's important for us to pay attention to, and then we're going to dive into the infrastructure situations and then Americans in general. So this is a story from Remix News. It says Paris preps for World War III. Thousands of French soldiers to arrive in Romania for simulated combat with none other than Russia. It says the next year will be crucial for the French army, which has undergone a major transformation in recent years and is prepared for a major conflict that possibly will happen with Russia. That's a Politico article that they're quoting there. It says next May, thousands of French soldiers will take part in a large-scale military exercise in Romania to then let it look like we are going to war with Russia. This is the purpose of the exercise is to assess and how quickly NATO, listen to that now, this was France, and now they're talking about how quickly NATO's eastern flank could get to and defend if it comes down to fighting Russia. So now you're talking about why does it matter to us what France does? Because they went from, well, France is doing this Romanian, play basically to figure out if we're strong enough to fight Russia, but then they also say, well, what this actually is so NATO is strong on one side. NATO is strong on the eastern flank, meaning NATO is going to be involved, and France needs to be strong on this side towards Romania. So what it is saying we're involving everybody. If we go to start a war, then ultimately America's got to come. I mean, they're NATO. So again, that thing that ties us into is almost like a ball and chain. It's going to put us in a war. It says Hungarian news says that this move shows that Paris is preparing for a world war. The pro-war French president has already come with alarming plans in recent months, which could clearly lead to war. Not war with Paris and Russia, basically war with NATO and Russia. It says, as reported earlier, Macron did not rule out sending more troops to Ukraine. We used to play war. Now there's a designed enemy, and we need to train harder for it, so we will be ready. All we're doing is setting up for a major world war. Why are we wanting to do this, and why are we allowing the French to do this? Now let's talk about October 22nd. Why is that a big deal? So there are 5 heads of big playing countries are going to meet in Russia on the 22nd to the 24th of October. Now, what is so important about that? Well, it's another BRICS summit. The difference in this BRICS summit is now they're picking up more and more and more countries that are wanting to join the BRICS currency. The more that they build this BRICS currency, the more countries that join, the more that they're building their Belt and Road Initiative with China is starting to build this infrastructure back up. So where we left, where we used to do war and then we would go in and do colony building and country building back, China has become the country building back. So we're still going to war, we're still causing all the issues, but then China's coming in saying, look, we'll build all your infrastructure back, we will take care of you because we want you to be part of this new society, this new economy. Well, because we have weak leadership, what is actually happening is you're seeing more and more and more countries join the BRICS initiative. So what they're going to be meeting on is how quick they could get this currency up and running to make sure that they don't need to go through the dollar system or the dollar currency, even starting as quick as 2025, the very first of 2025. So this comes down to, again, our election. What does it actually mean? Are we going to show weak leadership for another 4 years to where this currency will probably kick on off and it makes the dollar crumble and hurt? And that leads us to another story in just a little bit. But remember, if our dollar crumbles and hurts, and the fact that our bonds are not getting bought, and the fact that we have all these dollars coming back home because people are using this new style currency, what is it actually going to do for our dollar and the crisis there? So this October 22nd to 24th meeting with these countries, you're actually seeing 5 countries that could change the world forever and actually destroy America. It's not just the 5 countries. It's the fact that over 50% of the countries and the population of this world is backing this new BRICS currency. So that bully mentality that we've done across the world, and where we've involved all this in wars, what we're actually seeing now is the repercussions of bad policy overseas. Now we're not showing importance anymore. I mean, look at the Middle East. Some of our biggest allies are now pulling against us. All because we keep really funding wars from really both sides. Iran, and then of course the Israeli ally. I mean, so we keep giving more money to Iran, who's going to keep funneling money to terror, and Saudi Arabia is not happy about that. And so therefore we have a problem in the Middle East. Well, we have a problem in Ukraine and Russia because here we are still funneling money instead of trying to get a ceasefire there, instead of getting a true stop of war. All we're doing is setting up October 22nd to be a bigger deal than it should be because of weak leadership. When we're the ones that want to try to bully people into doing what we want, what we're actually saying is, if you don't do what we want, we're going to just take our toys and head back to the house. It's very kindergarten, childish-like. Well, what they're doing is saying, well, we don't need you anymore. Go play on your own playground. We're going to find our own playground, and we're going to build a bigger and better playground. This could destroy our dollar. Now, is there room for another currency in America or in the world? Yes. But what it will do is just what the dollar did when the dollar became the main currency. It destroyed Great Britain. It destroyed other currencies across the world. And then now, what are we going to see? Are we going to see the same thing happen here? Well, with the amount of debt that we have in America, the amount of people that is reliant on money, you're going to see a reset like no one's ever thought of. And this could happen as quick as the early part of February of 2025. All because we're allowing weak leadership to lead us across the world and to show no power, but to show more weakness, and it's making BRICS even stronger. And that kind of leads me to the next story. This was at Zero Hedge. I found this on Zero Hedge. It says there's a water main break in America every 2 minutes, resulting in contaminated drink supplies and boil water notices. Now, you think that's not a big deal, but I know in our state capital, Jackson, they always have boil water notices because of problems with the infrastructure. The pipes are no good. Democrats have ran everybody out of that town. So what happens is there's no tax basis to fix the infrastructure, and the money that they do get in, they spend on things they shouldn't. It's kind of like America. America has good taxation coming in. I mean, they've taxed us enough to have enough money to do what they need to do, but they're spending money wildly and not back on infrastructure. 1 out of 3 bridges in the U.S. needs repair, endangering hundreds of millions of commuters. There's more than 42,000 bridges across this country. So if 1 in 3 is struggling, that's a lot of bridges. That's more than 15,000 bridges that need repair. Well, that's another infrastructure issue. So now we've talked about water main breaks. There was just a cyber attack on our water, and then also the fact that our bridges are falling to pieces. It is estimated that 300 million people could face power outages just in the United States from 24 to 28. Not because of storms, but because grid vulnerabilities. So we could see 300 million homes not able to have power because we have a failing infrastructure. No wonder infrastructure needs are considered a C- on the infrastructure report card, is what this guy said. It says America is falling apart. We're spending all our money on things across the world while our infrastructure is literally falling apart. You know, the Inflation Reduction Act and the infrastructure bill that the Democrats passed, if you actually look at it, it's a bunch of pork projects, and what they do is just fluff up certain areas. I think about the speed train in California that went to nowhere. I think of the broadband internet access that kicked Elon Musk out, that Kamala was supposed to be over. That was like hundreds of millions of dollars, and not one thing was actually built on that money. So where'd that money go? What about the fact that the 7 EV charging stations that they built, they spent hundreds of millions of dollars, our government, to subsidize people building EV charger stations. They wouldn't let Elon Musk do it, so they subsidized some other companies to do it, and they built 7. The government built 7 for hundreds of millions of dollars. Is it really worth it? No. So what we're doing is we have the money, we're spending the money, but we're spending money on things we shouldn't. All the while, you can't have fresh drinking water. You have to boil your water like a third world country, and you can't even use your sewage because there's pipes broken in major cities. Don't say it's not happening. Just look it up. Look at major cities' water problems. And I promise you, Jackson, Mississippi will definitely be on there, but there's a lot of other ones too that will be on there because the infrastructure needs are already there, and we have the money, but we're not spending it on the things that we should. The grid vulnerabilities. Even Obama, just like Trump, both of them said we have got to fix the grid problem. This was the Democrat and Republican situation where they're like, the grid is vulnerable. But again, instead of investing in it, we invest in some kind of alternative energy to say that's going to make it better. And all the while, we've spent tons of money tearing down trees, killing cows, moving them off this property, killing grass to turn around and put solar panels and windmills to ruin our grounds, to actually not fix the grid that we had the problem with. So he says, you know, if we see a dollar collapse like they're talking about, and then on top of that, we're having infrastructure issues, what power actually do we have as a nation when our empire looks like it is crumbling right before our eyes? We're not broke as a country, but we've made ourselves broke because the leadership cares too much about the money they're making, the poor projects they have, and the kickbacks that they get. Republican and Democrats both really suck at leading us, and we need true leadership. I think that's why people don't like Trump or Elon, because they don't literally fit the narrative of a typical politician, which to me makes me like them even more. Because I'm sick and tired of politicians taking our money that we work so hard for to then turn around and spend it across the world, and to spend on things that does not even matter. Do we need another multi-million-dollar museum to talk about our heritage when we have the bridge that's going to it falter? Do we really need another school stadium that got a subsidy at a college, or a building named after our next senator, instead of the actual water that runs the building or runs the town we can't fix because we don't have the quote-unquote money? Do we need to keep feeding and putting up and housing all these immigrants when we don't have enough money to give to the local people of North Carolina or Florida or anywhere else that's had damage? So we have the money, we just choose to spend it wrongly. So therefore, just like a business, if I did that in my business, guess what would happen? I would be fired, or my business would shut down, or we would declare bankruptcy. So why do we allow our congressmen and our presidents and our leadership to get away with it? Why do we keep putting them in power? It's time for us to primary all these people. We need fresh people in Washington willing to work together to do something better than what we've got. And our track record has pretty much sucked. So now we have BRICS issues where a financial chaos could happen. With the fact that if it does happen, we already have monetary issues back at home because we have too much debt and we're not fixing the stuff that actually gets people to where they're supposed to go. That's a problem. Now let's talk about this other. This came off of Joe Rogan's podcast, and it's Casey Means. If you hadn't heard Casey and Kelly Means speak about our food system, they've really tied with RFK, and I think you need to pay attention to this. So when we tell you to raise your own food, when we tell you to make sure that you're eating clean food and organic and non-GMO and all this garbage food that the Americans are eating like fast food, and people say, well, it's just cheaper. No, it's not, first of all. But secondly, if it was cheaper, then what about the medical needs that you're going to need because you've chose to eat like crap, or you've chose to make sure that your body is not getting the very best nutrients, so therefore you have to live on some kind of medical or pharmacy basically for the rest of your life. I want you to listen to this. It says 10 shocking stories that they got out of the Joe Rogan podcast with Casey Means, which is a doctor, Kelly Means, which was a lobbyist and was a lobbyist in DC. You need to go back and read their book and listen to things they say. It says 74% of Americans are now considered overweight or obese. Well, because of the broken food system and because of lackadaisical laziness, where we just sit down and not do anything, no movement, you've become a lazy human being, which has caused you to be overweight. Now, there's some people that are unhealthy because of medical issues, and they can't get up and do, but then it may refer back to your food system and the way you've treated your body for all these years. But if not, why are you not trying to do exercises and work out? I have some guys I know, and they are overweight, and I constantly wonder why they still eat the Little Debbie snacks, they drink the Cokes, and they literally live off this kind of junk food. And then they go to town, get a pizza from Little Caesars or some chicken from whatever chicken place, and then they want to try to feel like they're going to get healthier. Well, they're not, because they're putting trash in, and so what they're going to do is rely on their body, and their body is going to be growing overweight and more obese and more dependent on a system instead of getting healthier. Why would we do that? But we just get used to it, and we don't want to cook for ourselves. We don't want to garden for ourselves. We don't want to go on a run. We don't want to go on a jog. We don't want to work out. 74% of Americans are overweight and obese. Young adults' cancer has went up 79% over the last 10 years. Well, that could be from things that go here. That could be from the things that we ingest. That could be from the McDonald's burger that you're eating. It's terrible for you. Fast food is not good quality. Well, we've taught our children, this is convenient, we're going to eat it. This is convenient, let's do this. You don't need to be, you don't need to go outside and play and run and go build forts. Just play on your Nintendo. It's good for you. We see that cancer in young adults is up 79% over the last 10 years. 25% of men now under 40 have no testosterone or low testosterone. So 25% of men now under 40, which used to be something where testosterone helps men not only perform in certain ways, but it also helps men rise above to be the leaders that they're supposed to be. There's just something about it. Well, now testosterone is cut in half because everything that we have is made from soy or GMO modified goods, so therefore it's cutting men to a point where they're not even hardly men anymore. The trash that they're putting in their body is hurting them. Alzheimer's and dementia are going through the roof. Remember, this is almost like what we would consider like a type 3 diabetes because of the trash diet that we have. It showed that Alzheimer's, there's tons of studies that show Alzheimer's and dementia is more because of the diet that we choose to eat versus trying to be healthy. More than 2 Americans are expected to have cancer in their lifetime now. 1 in 2, 50%. So if you have a house full of, like me, I have 8 people. That scares me to death. That's why we don't eat trash food. That's why we try so hard to live a life that is sustainable and live on the earth where we ground ourselves, where we go outside and play, and we get the sun on our skin. We have activities. We allow our kids to get out and do more than just play on games like a lot of people do with their children. That's why we homeschool, so they can get outdoors and they can get to doing other things than sitting in a classroom for 8 or 9 hours a day for nothing. Listen to this. 1 in 36 children have autism now. 1 in 36. Now, don't you listen. That was 150 in a year in 2000. You don't tell me your diet or your pharmacology changes. You don't believe that has anything to do with it? When you had 150 reported cases all over America in 2000, 24 years later, almost 25 years later, you're seeing 1 in 36. That is unbelievable. The percentage is off the charts. Infertility is growing each year 1%. 77% of young adults can't serve in the military because of obesity or drug use. Autoimmune disorders, some studies are saying that is up 13% each and every year. Heart disease, which is almost totally preventable, is the leading cause of death in the United States, killing around 800,000 per year. Now, don't you think about all those numbers? Every one of those should scare you. And not scare you in a bad way, but to say, you know what, I'm gonna quit living this life of eating trash, garbage food, quit taking all this regimen and medicine that my doctor says I've gotta have. Because remember, most doctors don't teach you how to be healthy. They learn how to mask your problems with things that you shouldn't be taking. It's harming our bodies, people. So you wonder why America is struggling? Well, because you have men not being men anymore, and they're not standing up and actually trying to do something. You have lazy people and overweight people and drug-induced people that they can't feel like they could ever rise above. And the fact is, we're seeing our country fall before our eyes, all because people are getting weaker and weaker and more unhealthier and more unhealthier. Yuval Harari, and I know you've heard that name with the WEF, made the comment that says, we can rule the world. We can have the reset. All we have to do is keep them drugged up, keep people drugged up, fat, lazy, and basically lethargic, meaning idolized. That means focused on something else. If we keep them lazy, fat, and playing video games, or lazy, fat, keep them tied to media, social media, we keep them doing those things, we can rule over anybody, because now we have a weakened population across the world. You don't believe that's happening right before your eyes, and it's happening right in America. All because we're not willing to just say, you know what, I need to go get a shovel and dig a hole and put a plant there. I need to go grow a garden. I need to make sure that I'm getting bought stuff from the farmer's market that's organic and wholesome and healthy and has no chemicals on it. It's so easy. All it takes is you just saying, I gotta take initiative to clean my diet. You would heal. America could heal itself in a matter of just no time, if we would learn to do the things like they were doing back in the early 1900s, where they learned to be more sustainable, when they learned to live on homesteads and learned to live how to farm and how to raise food and how to buy from their neighbors when they didn't raise food, but that the neighbor down the road did, and they didn't have to put all the chemicals on the stuff to make it grow or to keep the weeds out. It was all natural. That is the time that we need to go back to, where people knew skills. People knew how to go outside and work and play and have fun. People knew how to do manual labor. We've lost that, and now we're seeing the repercussions of it, and it's putting us hooked on the medical establishment. And when we're hooked to it, they control us. Guys, let me know your thoughts. Again, your dollar could struggle more. You have October 22nd looking at you. You have failing infrastructure, and your health is failing too. And on top of that, France is ready to go into World War III. Now, what can we do? How can we fix all this? One person at a time. You start teaching people better, educating them in the right ways, homeschooling your children. My kids have no idea what the school system tries to teach and indoctrinate. They have no idea because they haven't been exposed to it. Learn to take initiative with your family, your children, your health, your food, and start making better, wiser choices. Because when people see that, they see the difference, and they'll start learning to do more like you. It's like a fire. I've been cleaning off property. When I light that fire, if I don't make a trail around it, that fire can spread just by just a little spark, little spark, little spark, little spark. It's so easy to change the world, just a little spark at a time. But it takes you taking initiative, being proactive, and doing something better. Guys, thank you so much for watching. God bless.